Hello, my name is Debbie Finke. I am an entomologist with the Division of Plant Sciences. I'm going to talk about some work that my team is doing at South Farm today. The co-lead on this project is Tim Reinbott, who's the Assistant Director of the Ag Experiment Station. Also participating are graduate student Katie LaPlante and a research specialist, Terry Woods. I'm going to address three questions first: the who, why, and what of the work that we're doing. First, starting off with the who are the pollinators? So the title of the talk is Native Plants for Missouri Pollinators, or for Mo pollinators. So who are these pollinators? Well, we're focused specifically on native pollinators, native species to Missouri. The big powerhouse, most productive pollinators are the bees. That includes solitary bees and bumblebees. So we focus more on bumblebees. And then also the really charismatic pollinators, which are the butterflies and moths, probably the most famous one being the monarch butterfly. So why do we care about these pollinators? Why are we studying them? Well, pollinators play a really important role in providing what we call ecosystem services, or services that are important to humans. More than 90% of the world's flowering plants rely on insect pollinators, or pollinators in general, to reproduce. So without pollinators, our plant communities would collapse. These pollinators are important for plants that we use as food. It's been estimated that 1 in 3 bites of food that we take relies on insect pollination. And then also, many of us care about and enjoy wildlife, and insects and pollinators are important food sources for wildlife, including quail. So what's the issue? Well, the big issue is that pollinators are in decline. This includes both bees and the monarch butterfly. So the map that you see on the left side of the screen here, the map of the United States, is showing us the status of bees across the US, with blue being good and yellow being relatively low or challenged. And you can see that throughout the Midwest and Missouri, bee populations are declining at low abundance. Same with the right side of the slide. What you see is the status of the monarch butterfly population. The bars represent the abundance of the butterflies over time, starting in 1994 and going all the way up to 2019. You can see a very clear, strong pattern of populations declining over time. So we've already seen one bumblebee listed as federally endangered, the rusty patch bumblebee. There's concern, there's discussion over whether or not to list the monarch butterfly. The Fish and Wildlife Service is supposed to make that decision by December of this year. If the monarch butterfly is listed under the Endangered Species Act, that would create a big challenge for a lot of people, landowners in the Midwest, which is the large part of the range of the monarch butterfly migration. When we think about reasons for these declines, factors such as diseases and parasites, chemical contact with chemicals, and climate change are often cited, but habitat loss is one factor that has received a lot of attention, and it's something that we can, as community members, actually try to do something about. So a lot of folks have been working hard to plant pollinator habitats. We have a lot of great native plants in Missouri, beautiful, charismatic, blooming plants that can attract a wide diversity of bees, as well as support monarchs and other butterflies. The question that my lab is interested in is understanding how best to design these habitats to make sure that they are supporting pollinators in an effective way. So I'm going to take just a minute to show a video that explains a little bit about the work that we're doing.
Okay, we're here at the Jefferson Farm, and we're exhibiting some more of our habitat that we have here on the rolling prairie with the clay pan. We've got a lot of wildflowers that really like this area. It's well drained, highly fertile. Our native pollinators have berms and many places to hide around here. Got some beehives up closer to the building here. For establishing wildflower fields and taking it from one habitat to another, you have to go against nature a little bit. Ideally, you order your wildflower seed in the fall and try to spread it in early winter or in a fresh snow. A grower must suspend the development of competitive plants that are in the future wildflower plots. Fescue, red and white clover, and big blue must be controlled before planting. So a great site would be one that has a lot of drainage, elevation changes, and really deep soil to hold moisture, possibly water nearby, shade to protect the insects from hot, dry conditions. Another indicator of superior habitat is the close presence of native pollinators, especially the native bees. If they don't have to travel very far for nectar sources during the growing season, is a very great benefit to have. If insect travel distance is cut down, insects use less energy to travel back and forth, collecting pollen and nectar. Low disturbance areas that are surrounded by hardwoods and many different species of plants that bloom at different times offer a constant nectar source for the pollinators. When you think about the size of your plot, you want to have an area that's adequate enough to have several different species of blooming plants at one time. These are research wildflower plots at the University of Missouri South Farm. They're approximately 20 foot by 20 foot. We have 10 species of nectar plants surrounding 2 different species of milkweed. We don't have any large trees in this area. There's limited pesticide usage in this area, no cattle grazing, and with a little bit of renovation, you could probably have 4 to 5 blooming species here, which is what we're after for the pollinators. Cover crops provide additional organic matter. They reduce soil erosion and provide soil shading so high temperatures of soil don't occur. They are an alternative nectar and pollen source that can be available before wildflowers bloom, and cover crops suppress weeds. However, cover crops have to be killed out before you plant your wildflower seed. In summary, look for what is present in your locations before you start. Drainage, soil type, soil depth are most important. You want to make sure that limited insecticide use and disturbance occurs.
So our studies in these plots are just getting going. We're only a couple of years in, but we have some early lessons that we've learned that we could share with you. One being that if possible, if it works for you, if your area that you're planting is not so huge, planting seedling plugs grown from the greenhouse directly into the field is a really effective way to create a kind of instant pollinator plot where you can get flowering in the first year. We use a 1-inch auger drill to drill holes in the soil, put the seed plug directly in, and then backfill. We've also learned that location of where you put the pollinator habitat can make a difference. So we have some plots that are out in the open, which you see in the bottom picture here, and then we have other plots that are located along tree lines. You can see that in the top picture. And what we're finding, both attract pollinators and support bees and monarch butterflies. But the monarch butterflies in particular, we find more eggs in plots that are along tree lines. We think because the trees are providing shade and a place for the butterflies to rest. We're also finding that seed source makes a difference. We've collected seed from northern Missouri, central Missouri, and south Missouri, and then we plant them together at South Farm. And we see differences, at least in the first couple of years, in the phenology, the timing of the flowering. So you can see differences in the swamp milkweed here, the one on the left. being quite a bit ahead of the one on the right in terms of flowering time. And that difference is due to where the seed was collected in Missouri. Same with the blazing star that you see in the back. The one on the left, again, further ahead in terms of flowering than the one on the right. And finally, we're interested in mowing. We know that folks oftentimes need to mow pollinator habitats for various reasons. It's best if you can avoid mowing, but we are working on investigating the timing of mowing, when best to mow a habitat, how to have the least disturbance with pollinators, potentially mowing only part of the habitat and leaving part intact for pollinator use. So we're very early in the study. We're just getting going, but we're excited because we're seeing a lot of pollinators out at South Farm, great diversity of bees and plenty of monarch butterflies. So we're excited for what these studies are going to show in the future. But if anyone has any questions, need more details, or want to know more about our work, feel free to contact me. My email and phone number are provided here. Thank you.